All right, welcome. It is the happy hour episode of Hug Nation on June 12th. That's 6/12/2012. And before we get too deep, if it's not too late already, let's just get present into the now moment. Shake off the day. Shake off your roles, your identities, your to-do lists, all of the things undone and did, and just be and receive and allow. And remember that all of life happens now. And every once in a while, as we get caught up in our stories and our thoughts, it's important to recalibrate and pull back to the now. And be there as your life is happening. To receive. And in that process of getting clear and receiving, hopefully hearing, tuning in, allowing currents and your own intuition to guide you deeper than when you're caught off in some story in your cerebral mind, allowing a deeper flow to go through you. And as we go through the world, we take a moment to be appreciative of all of our blessings. May more and more blessings flow into our lives, fill us with joy and love so that we can spread love and joy in the world. Amen. Welcome! Welcome everybody who's here. So, if people were here in the afternoon, we were talking about the high road, taking the high road and how that is its own reward, and maybe we'll talk a little bit more about that. But, you know, there's current events that I want to address today too. I'm not sure if you've been following, but if you're familiar with the comic The Oatmeal, lots of funny, very topical internet comics, and I've laughed at it many times, and they posted something, I don't know if that went up today or just that's when it's gone traction, and all, I've been seeing it everywhere. The headline of the thing they wrote was, "Funnyjunk is threatening to file a federal lawsuit against me unless I pay $20,000 in damages." I'll just read it. "Remember funnyjunk? Almost exactly a year ago, I published a blog post about my comics being stolen, rehosted, and monetized on funnyjunk's website. The owner of the site responded, and some of the comics were taken down. He still had a ton of my comics hosted without credit, but the energy it would take to get them down wasn't worth it, so I thought it was over and I let it be. A few days ago, I was served papers informing me that the owner of funnyjunk is going to file a federal lawsuit against me unless I pay him $20,000 in damages." So, keeps going. "I don't want to get tied up in courtroom nonsense. I don't want to pay more money to a lawyer. Don't you miss the days when I posted 2 comics a week instead of writing rebuttals to Forbes and dealing with this bullshit like this? So do I. So he kind of concludes the letter, and then he says how he's going to deal with it. And he writes, "I'm going to try and raise $20,000 in donations. I'm going to take a photo of the raised money. I'm going to mail you that photo along with this drawing of your mom seducing a Kodiak bear. And I'm going to take the money and donate one half to the National Wildlife Federation and the other half to the American Cancer Society." He says, "I don't want to write retorts like this anymore. I don't want to spend the next year tied up in legal bullshit with you. I just want to make comics. Consider this my philanthropic, kind-spirited way of saying, fuck off." And he calls the whole thing Operation Bear Love Good, Cancer Bad. And then you click on the link and it goes to his, I think it's an Indiegogo campaign. So he's trying to raise $20,000, and this has been going for a little over a day now, I think. And you don't want to guess how much he's raised? He's trying to get $20,000. I donated. Right now it's at $127,766. $127,766. $127,000 put towards charity by him just raising this issue and showing the absurdity, and then trying to... I think that he had a great quote about what he's trying to do. He said, "I'm hoping that philanthropy trumps douchebaggery and greed." One more time. "I'm hoping that philanthropy trumps douchebaggery and greed." I love this guy. His name is Matthew Inman, Dark Lord of the Oats, the guy who writes the Oatmeal. And I just think this is so cool. And there's a reason why I think it's especially cool, is because I've had my own legal battles in the past. When, in 1988, I got a cease and desist order from Fruit of the Loom. And up until that moment, I had no problem with Fruit of the Loom. I had written a story, a little comedy thing online, a little humor thing called Meat of the Loom. Here, I'll just read. It's not, okay. So it's called Meat of the Loom. How did the advertising wizards at Fruit of the Loom convince the homophobic consumers of our nation to cradle their manly organs in a binding piece of in a binding piece of clothing with the word fruit on it? I would have thought Meat of the Loom would be better targeted to the average American male. Their actual marketing strategy was so bizarre it bordered on science fiction. They dressed up men in fruit costumes. What were these stoners thinking? I can only guess that they were shooting for that whole 70s Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds tie-dye market. The Fruit of the Loom company was able to prosper using a man in a foam rubber bunch of grapes costume, including purple leggings. This is proof that the use of psychedelics was much higher in this country than experts thought. And I wonder what the campaign development process was like. What kind of ideas came up in the brainstorming session before they settled on Fruit of the Loom? Like, fruit of the loins, banana in my briefs, looming fruit in my undies, fruity panties, fruit of the looming penis, fruit pants, fruit bowl briefs, fruit in the room, fruit salad in my pants, or maybe even crotch full of produce. Finally, and I wasn't going to bring this up, but have you ever wondered what a loom was? If you look it up, you might see the obvious definition and continue on your merry ignorant way. A loom can mean a machine or device from which cloth is produced. But the dictionary dweller with a veteran view of corporate conspiracy would look further. There are 3 other definitions of loom, each equally frightening. To appear to the mind in a magnified and threatening form. This certainly gives way to the psychedelic drug and men in fruit costumes theory. The other definition is the shaft of an oar. And then I said, could the phallic reference be any more blatant? And finally, LOLM stands for Loyal Order of Moose. No shit. Look it up. And then that was published in like 97. And then in 98, I got a email from a lawyer that worked for Fruit of the Loom. And they said, hey, pretty standard, cease and desist. You're using our mark. You're in violation. Take it down. And at the time, my dad was a lawyer. And since we didn't really play catch a lot, the idea of like bonding over something legal sounded great. So I'm like, hey, Dad, isn't this parody? Aren't I protected by parody here? And he said, yeah, I'm sure what they did is they just did a search, searched everything on the net that used, Fruit of the Loom, and then they just probably sent emails to everyone. So I would write them back and kind of have them look again and ask them if they could clarify what you're actually in violation of. So I did that. And the letter I got back was, how should I say, condescending? Let's see if I can actually find it I think I have it right here. Said, so the thing I wrote back was, I received your cease and desist email and frankly I'm a bit confused. Could you please explain to me how my webpage infringes on your trademark? The text of the article is included. The article in question is clearly parody. I'm having trouble seeing how my article does you any damage. I merely publish an online magazine for non-commercial purposes. I do not sell underwear, t-shirts, or fruit costumes. I doubt anyone is confusing your esteemed company with my attempt at humor. P.S. Thank you for visiting prehensile.com, where there's a new tale every Monday, mostly non-underwear related. And they wrote back, we disagree strongly with your legal analysis. Your sexually related trademark parody, as you call it, infringes and dilutes our famous trademarks. Under federal and state trademark law, your infringement and parody of argument, and it says, let's amicably resolve this matter. Please take my advice in my letter to you dated March 10th. Please contact me in the next 5 days. Anyway, I started. So what I did, I started publishing all of the things online, and I started asking my friends online because I was kind of connected to a lot of independent publishers if they would be willing to put little banners and try to get attention for this. And so some of them made great ones. There was one that said like, "Keep your looms off our loins," and "Freedom of speech doesn't end in an elastic waistband," and kept going. Wired picked up the article, or the story, and because I'd been publishing all of the things online, it included their emails and their contact information. So this was in '98, and so the people who were online in '98 were like passionate. The internet's going to change the world, and here's this corporate, company trying to say, hey, little kid, don't mess with us. We're a big corporation, and so pretty soon they got so much email and so much contact that they kind of basically waved the white flag and said, it's cool, we didn't mean it, we misunderstood. It was they backed down. And it was a very early example of the collective action of the web. Clearly, this legal team didn't really get how something like that could backfire, and it was one of the first kind of big visible examples of little guy uses the power of the web to be big enough to make a big guy back down and say sorry. And so from that, I actually got asked to go to South by Southwest and speak for my first conference and a bunch of other conferences, and became kind of like an expert in this little crazy realm. So it was a significant, it ended up being a wonderfully positive thing, and a great bonding experience with my dad. So as I read about this thing that's happening now, not only to add on all the cool things that I experienced, he's now adding this insanely beautiful charity aspect to it that has given the community and the internet as a whole a chance to just shine and show, that douchebaggery can be beat. It's fucking awesome. I love it.